My name is Peter Reckling. I'm currently an architectural historian for the Tennessee Valley Authority out of Knoxville, Tennessee. I graduated with my bachelor's in historic preservation in 2020 and then a master's in public history with an emphasis in historic preservation in 2021. I think it was 2017. The head archivist at the time was Roxanne Dunn, and she was having me follow her around the building, and she was giving me a tour of Kent Library when I first started as a student worker in the university archives. And I was walking around and I noticed all these really cool old pieces of furniture that had either been in storage or they were just kind of off to the side. They didn't really look like they were being used. And as I got to know the collections of the university archives a little bit more, I started seeing these pieces in the backgrounds of the university photograph collection. And I'd point it out and be like, oh my gosh, that's that same piece of furniture. And that's amazing. I brought it up to Roxanne Dunn, and I think it made its way up to the library dean, Barbara Glacken. And I said, like, what would be the possibility on having these restored starting, I think it was summer 2017 and 2018. We got the ball rolling. I think I restored estimated, I think it was 14 pieces of library furniture. So the steps to restore the desk were first researching the desk itself. Like, was this actually Sadie Kent's desk? I had to look at numerous historic photographs to be able to determine, like, this is the desk, right? Sadie Kent, she was the first female librarian for Southeast Missouri State University. For someone in her field, I believe she was a trendsetter and someone very early in her career to be considered a head librarian for such a prestigious state college at the time. I want to say she started in 1906 was the date that she started with Southeast. And of course, later on, became the library's namesake when Kent Library was constructed in the 1930s. And so her story was just really inspirational as to how she came to the campus, and she got pretty high up there in the ranks so early on in the school's history. And I just think that was amazing. But the university photograph collection was such a great help. Also, looking at the desk itself, being able to pick apart, like, what's an original stain. I believe the desk, from what I remember, it was a shellac finish that had been waxed so many times over time. And being able to assess, okay, there's some water stains on the top that looks like decades of multiple librarians' coffee cups and stuff sitting on the top. And then using a gentle sanding process to remove all of that shellac and wax buildup that had been on the desk before choosing an appropriate stain that matched the original stain color, staining it gently, and then also sealing it with another form of wax that would also hold up in the temperatures in the ribbon room. When I was working on the desk, I was taking out the drawers and I was just looking it over, assessing kind of like, okay, what needs to be done here? I got up underneath the desk, kind of like how a mechanic gets under a car to change the oil, and I saw this pencil drawing underneath the top of the desk, and I'm like, what is this? It turns out it was a date, 1906, and so that's why we were able to date the desk. And it was a really special moment, being able to be like, oh my gosh, it just felt like you're discovering history, and it was amazing. Those extra steps, if I recall the conversation, it was this piece is identified, and as close as it got to being finished, I had to meet with Roxanne and Barbara, and we had to decide, where is this going to go? And so it took some brainstorming from everybody on deck, but we decided, how about this space in the rare book room? We have William Faulkner's collection. We have some other prominent university donors. You know, this is an important piece of university and library history. Why not just put it in the rare book room? And so we were able to carve out a space for it in one of the corners, and now William Faulkner's typewriter sits on top. And it's just a really warming feeling to be able to see students enjoy those pieces that have been there for 100 years, and I hope they're there for 100 years more, doing the same task that they've been doing for almost, if not over a century, which is helping students. And to be able to pull that out of storage and give it a brand new life where now it sits in the rare book room, that feels like I left a piece of my legacy there for her and for Southeast history to be able to have it put on display and restored. It feels an amazing part of not only my legacy, but SEMO history and the library's legacy, as well as Sadie Kent's.